Yes, here we are again, another day committed to picking a fight with the mainstream media and providing you the timely truth centered around real estate, credit, finance, estate planning, publishing, and so much more. You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback Show, where our number one goal is to educate, entertain, enlighten, and engage in an effort to help you win in any marketplace. So in studio, let's go around the horn here, make our introductions. First up, Tara Richter, back in studio, Richter Publishing.
Yep, good to be in. Today we're going to talk about some interesting things that Barnes & Noble are doing to keep their doors open and 5 summer writing tips.
Excellent. Love it. And by the way, it reminds me of an awesome story I saw last week. West Chase was voted top out of the United States of America as the number one community to live in for families. So
wow.
Awesome. Lots to offer there.
Yeah, I like West Chase. I used to work out there.
It's awesome. You got all the foods. You got the tennis. You got the golf. You got the awesome trails to walk and jog.
I'm from Omaha, Nebraska, and that is the only neighborhood in Florida that reminds me of Omaha, Nebraska.
What does it remind you? What?
It's just like it's a really homey feel. Like in Nebraska, like our crime rate's low.
Yep.
Our education is really good. The public schools are great. You don't have to send your kids to private schools.
Right.
It's a very comfortable, family type feeling, and that's what I always get when I go to West Chase. I feel like I'm back home.
Yeah, I love it. I love getting listings in there. They don't last long. It's a beautiful property. So we're here in studio live from iHeart Radio, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. right here. It's your most important hour on the radio every day of the week, Monday through Friday. Also have a show on the weekends on 102.5 The Bone, and we got a plethora of information available on our YouTube channel. Check us out on Facebook.com/REQB show as well. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, Tara. Tara Richter, Richter Publishing, back in studio, talking about these summer writing tips today, and we're also talking about Barnes & Noble serving alcohol now. So.
Yeah, it was like CNN Money came out like the other week that they're going to start testing some stores, not all of them, but serving alcohol. So I'm assuming it's like beer and wine. They're not going to have like, I think, a full bar.
Shots.
That would be really interesting. But it's honestly, I think it's kind of a desperate attempt to keep their doors open because, Borders, they went out of business. Books A Million, they went out of business. And it's sad because I love the bookstores. I'm obviously, like a book geek because I've written 10 of my own. And when I had what I like to call a real job, I would love to go there on my lunch break, get a book, have a coffee, and flip through it.
Yep.
But unfortunately, in today's society, that's just gone to the wayside.
Yeah.
With the digital books, the Kindles, Amazon, everybody is downloading,
Audio.
buying stuff. Yeah, the audio books. People are getting groceries shipped to their front door. They're not even going to the grocery store anymore.
Yeah.
So I hate to say it, but I don't think it's going to work.
It's a different world we live in. It definitely, there's no two ways about it. What I would think if I was a CEO of that company, I would start thinking about ways of combination of services. How can we maybe co-brand, with a Starbucks or co-brand with, you name it. But, that's what is winning nowadays is the combination of services. But, yeah, great point. I love the audiobooks. I'm always on an audiobook.
I have an audiobook that's out there on, on Amazon, How to Write a Book in 4 Weeks, and it's only $4.
Wow.
So, anybody can, throw down $4 and figure out how to write their book in 4 weeks. But, an interesting idea, just like thinking outside the box, is if they had maybe an area where people could go and listen to audiobooks there, and so if people don't have the devices or they don't want to get the iPod or they don't understand, you could just sit and download to the computer and listen.
Yep.
Or they could even have iPads where people could like maybe rent a Kindle book and read it without having to buy the device.
Right.
And that would bring people in, but it would still keep the whole bookstore atmosphere instead of turning it into a bar.
Yeah. or right? Maybe do both.
Or.
Let's see. But yeah, it is kind of sad. The old traditional having the book in the hand. For the Barnes and Nobles at least. But hey, bringing alcohol in there potentially. Let's see what happens.
It'll be interesting to find out. But I do have 5 summer writing tips for people. If they're out there writing their book, summer is a great time to utilize spare time. Because basically it's really time that you need to write your book.
Yep.
So if you're on vacations, you're waiting in the airports, your flight's delayed, or maybe you have like a 5-hour plane trip to go somewhere. What you want to do is you can utilize technology to actually sit down and write some of your chapters out. So I have one of my favorite little things here is this Bluetooth keyboard. You can get them for like $50 at Walmart. And, because when you're on an airplane and somebody puts their seat back in front of you and you have that tray goes into your stomach, and it's really hard to get a laptop and you're trying to type. But with this, it's so cool because you can have your phone and you get a little stand for like $1. You prop your phone up or your iPad or whatever, put it in some notepad setting, put the Bluetooth on, and just type away.
Wow. Cool.
And it's amazing. Like my second book, I wrote completely using this.
Yeah, hold that up for the camera. Here. For those of you watching our live stream, she's holding it up. It's, what is it, an iHome?
Yeah, iHome, just Bluetooth keyboard. I'm missing one of them. You can see how much I wrote on it. I like tore it right off. But it was funny. I was on an airplane once doing this, and there was this older couple next to me, and I'm just jamming away. I got my, listening to the music, typing away, and they just kept staring at me. And I'm like, I know they want to ask what I'm doing. So finally, I'm like, do you want to know what this is? And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm an author. I'm writing a book. And they're like, wow.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is as soon as you get, onto the ground, you get Wi-Fi, you can email yourself that notepad. Cool. And then, when you get the email, then you copy and paste it into Word. I can write 2 or 3 chapters, which is anywhere about like 5,000 words, sitting on an airplane with a couple hours.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. And one thing that works for me also is, maybe not work on an airplane because you're, different scenario, but it's just a talk and type feature. Then you just go back and edit it. There's going to be some mistakes. But yeah, hey, that's great content here. We're talking with Tara Richter, Richter Publishing, on ways that you can grow your sphere of influence by writing your own book. She's got 5 summer writing tips. We're going to come into that after this first break. All right, welcome back. Let's go back to Tara. I wanted to get those 5 summer writing tips from you.
Yep, we got 4 more. So the second one is if you don't, if you're not really into technology, you don't really like the whole like writing on your iPad or whatever, then carry an idea pad with you. I have both. I have my keyboard and my phone and this.
Nice.
Because sometimes I like to actually physically write, with pen and paper. So basically when you travel and you have downtime, it inspires creativity. Anytime you're not in the normal day-to-day of things, your 9-to-5 grind or whatever, you're always going to have ideas that are going to spark creativity. Yeah. So you always want to jot those down as soon as possible.
Let me pause on that one because that's in a lot of the books I'm reading. I'm sure Bob can comment on this as well. Is it's all about you have that idea, but I think as Les Brown talks about, most of the ideas go to the graveyard with that holder. They never get them out. And you look at shows like Shark Tank and these different shows where when that idea is there and you don't jot it down, and you just think, oh, well, I'll remember that when I come back, it could be gone forever.
Exactly. So you want to stop whatever you're doing. Sometimes even if you're driving and you have a brilliant idea, pull over on the side of the road, write it down so we're safe.
Thank you for that tip.
Yes, be safe, pull over, or sometimes actually when I'm on the treadmill, that's when I get a lot of ideas because you're exercising, your endorphins are pumping. And so I'll just write it on my phone, and I'll email it to myself. So when I get back to the office, it's there. I'm not going to forget it. And when we're talking about writing down these ideas, don't do like checking for spelling, grammar, whatever. Right. It might be gobbledygook, but it doesn't matter. As long as you're getting it out of your head and onto paper, you have that idea. It's the editor's job to clean it up.
Yeah,
not yours.
Because then you're not looping your mind. What happens is with our minds, the way it works is you're going to be looping back to that idea when you're wasting basically energy, mental energy by doing that.
Exactly. And when you go from the right brain to the left brain, from the creativity to the logical, it stops the creative flow. So you never want to edit while you're writing. You just let it flow out, and then you go back and you edit.
Good point.
So, okay, number 3 is if you have some spare time over the summer, start a blog. Because what you can do is blog 2 to 3 days a week. Blog should only be about 400 to 500 words. So as you're doing these short little bits of information, A, you're making it easier for yourself. B, you're getting it out into the world and on Google. And then you're starting to build a fan base. So what you can do is write teasers of your book. Yeah. And then at the end of every blog, be like, hey, this is going to come out in, I don't know, fall of whatever, 2016, 2017. But getting that blog out there, it helps you organize it. Short bits of pieces of information, teasers to gain followers.
Building SEO as well.
Exactly. So tip number 4 is say you're in a car ride and you have, a big family and you're, got a 10-hour drive and you got the kids in the car. Well, what you can do is make a game. Now, this may be a little bit better for like fictional type stories, but it could work either way. And so what you do is you make a game with the family in the car and everybody starts putting the story together. So I don't know if you guys ever did this before, but it's like, okay, Sally went to work, and the next person's like, at work she did this, and the next person's like, and then this happened, and then she encountered this problem, and you tell the story as you go around in the car. So you're making it a game, with the family, and once again, you're just being fun and you're being creative, but that's going to spark ideas. You may come up with something. So what you can do is, get out your smartphone, put on the voice recorder, record it. So, if you guys get some golden nuggets during it, you can go back and and reference that.
And you'll probably get one less of those, are we there yet?
Exactly. And then, you're getting your kids engaged, you're getting them creative, they're having more fun. And then, it's a family interactive kind of thing.
Offer money for great ideas, too. It always helps.
There you go.
Exactly. That works, too. And the last tip I have is actually reading more. So when you're at the pool, when you're at the lake house, whatever, buy more books and read more. Because the more that you read, the more that it's going to spark ideas, about the kind of book that you're trying to read or write. So the one thing that I do if I'm getting creative blocks, I'll actually go out and buy a book about overcoming creative blocks. Because then, I'm reading, I'm getting their tips, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. And then all of a sudden, maybe halfway through, you're like, okay, I'm good. And then you can get back to actually, writing your book.
Yeah, I love it. The world we live in, it's so easy to access these books. It's so easy to have these, podcasts. If you're interested in a certain category of learning, and to be a constant learner, that's the key. Is you're always going to be upgrading your skills.
Because that's why I say if you take one action every day towards your goal, then at the end of the year, that's 365 steps that you did, and then you can look back and say oh my gosh, look what I accomplished. It seems like it happened overnight, but it really didn't, because you did one thing every single day.
Yeah,
and you mentioned
absolutely.
Reading. Think about that. Okay, read one book every 30 days. That's 12 books a year. Okay?
Yep.
You're already ahead of the curve, because 90% of the people that come out of school don't read another book after school.
Yeah.
I know.
Why?
Going back to the Barnes & Noble, it was kind of funny. I had a date with a guy, this was a long time ago back in Nebraska, and I was like, meet me at, I think it was Borders at the time. And I was running late for whatever reason. I was like, hey, I'm going to be 30 minutes late. He's like, well, what am I going to do? You're in a bookstore.
Oh, my goodness.
You don't know what to do for 30 minutes in a bookstore? At least grab a magazine if you don't want to get a book out. Yeah. And I was like, I don't think this is going to work out.
And that's when you wrote the Dating Jungle book, right?
Exactly. Well, that was actually after divorce. But
After, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Let's talk about some of the books that you have written, and I know we had some show notes on one of the books. And you had the one book that outsold, was it John Grisham?
Yep, John Grisham.
That's really cool.
So we have almost 40 titles to date. We have 9 Amazon bestsellers, and ours are all nonfiction business books. So it's everything from, my first series was The Dating Jungle.
Yep.
How to actually find healthy relationships, avoid the negative toxic relationships, and that's really with dating, family, even business partners.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Stuff like that. And then my second series of books is, how to write and publish your own book, make it a bestseller, how to write a book in 4 weeks, which, once again, being consistent. Like an industry standard book is 20,000 words. If you sit down and write 715 words a day for 28 days, you have a little over 20,000 words. Not that hard.
Beautiful. Love it. And you're also helping us with ours. So really excited about that. We're weeks away from releasing our second book, and we also have our Consumer Advocate Playbook that's on Amazon right now as well. And so I'm really excited about the second book coming out. Maybe we'll give a little hint of that coming up, and also hear more. And let's go ahead and talk here with Tara Richter. Richter Publishing helps you. She'll help you learn how to write your own book. She can actually even write it for you through a process that she does with the ghostwriting side. She also has some proven winners out there that have already been featured, on some of the top lists out there, outsold John Grisham, and she's local here to Tampa Bay. And so let's leave the listeners out there with some nuggets of advice.
Yeah, we have a lot of free information. Obviously we're on your show a lot. We have a podcast, we have a YouTube channel. So there's a lot of free information that people can go out there and get, without even having to talk to me. They can subscribe to our YouTube page. They can sign up for a newsletter that we send out information, in the books we publish on my website, which is richterpublishing.com. And I always give out free 30-minute phone consultations. Cool. So anybody can go to my website. They can fill out a little survey, and they can call me. Well, actually, I call them at their scheduled time, which is really cool. It's like a virtual secretary that you just go in, schedule whatever time works for you. I call them. And within 30 minutes, we can chat and I can figure out A, if we're a good fit together, B, if their story sounds like something interesting, or, maybe if there's a better route for them. Because obviously, we don't mesh with every author that's out there.
Right.
Because we do specialize in nonfiction business books. We do not do children's. Okay. I get a lot of people coming to me for kids' books, but we do not do that. So...
You don't want to go there?
I don't. I'm not really passionate about it.
Yeah.
I don't have any children myself.
Yep.
So I'm not involved in the cartoons every day. So, I'm passionate about business. I have my own business. That's what I know. Yep. I live, I breathe it. That's right. My business is my baby.
Yep.
So that's what I'm passionate about. I tried for a little bit and I was like, no, I can't do it if I'm not into it. So
yeah. No, that makes sense. These days you have specializations in almost every industry. You've got big things. Tara, you're obviously self-employed. I'm self-employed. Bob, same. This is something that there's pros and cons with being self-employed too. Because then sometimes you work 24/7. Like
I tried to take a vacation in December because I thought, hey, December will be downtime. No, I go to Hawaii for 10 days and my phone is ringing off the hook and it's a 5-hour time difference.
Yeah.
So it's like 3 a.m. like Hawaii time and I'm just like, oh wow. I really thought everybody would be like chilling out. No.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to do it, but they always say the entrepreneurial will work like 120 hours a week versus for themselves versus 40 hours a week for someone else.
Yep.
Because then, you're building your legacy, you're investing in yourself.
Yep.
And then there's no limit to how much money you can make. When you work 9 to 5, you might get some overtime, but really there's kind of a cap and a limit. But when you work for yourself, you get the more people you hire, the more, like for me, for example, the more authors I take on, the more books we want to tackle, the more money I can pull in. So.
Yep. Awesome. Love it. Yeah, absolutely. And that's there's so many reasons why you want to look at being self-employed and it's the self, whenever you're doing it for yourself, there's that satisfaction that comes along with it and those types of things that you're looking at. And, love speaking to Bob. That's something we're going to be, doing some joint venture stuff on and
looking forward to
helping our listeners out there. That's our goal every day of the week with this show is to help you win no matter what you're facing. Consumer advocate advice, things to do, things to avoid, help you avoid all that commission-based advice out there, make you more street smart. And go against the nonsense in the mainstream media that we were kind of talking about earlier, the nonsense media and then sensationalizing all these different stories, talking about Kardashians and all the stuff that does not matter to you. It's not going to help you live a better life, and it's not going to help you win. So I want to thank Tara Richter, Richter Publishing, for coming in today. I want to thank Bob Brum as well, the Positive Perspective, speaker, author, encouragement engineer, and, of course, all of our listeners out there. Thanks so much for checking us out. Check out our iTunes podcast, YouTube videos as well. And please go out there and consider making a random act of kindness. We'll see you next time, same time and place.